Those people, I've seen Stephen A. Smith talk about it. I've seen Shannon Sharp talk about it. And that's what I just don't understand is they work for ESPN. So why are you hating on a product? It's a business you're in. It's not that they can't.
The sports world is buzzing, and Stephen A. Smith is not holding back after getting publicly called out by WNBA legend Sue Bird. In a heated response, Stephen A. is disgusted. But not just with the criticism. He's taking aim at how Sue Bird and others have handled the explosive impact of Caitlin Clark on the WNBA.
I wasn't going to bring this up, but I saw it and then I read the article. And to be quite honest with you, I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted with Sue Bird, okay? Sue Bird, Hall of Fame caliber, Sue Bird, WNBA, college basketball. Matter of fact, one of the best people that I've ever met, or one of the best women I've ever met in professional or collegiate sports. I love her. But I didn't appreciate this article that I read, okay, when it came to her talking about yours truly. Because you see, far be it, this is the headline, y'all. Sue Bird calls out ESPN host for, quote, hating on WNBA playoff ratings after Caitlin Clark's exit.
Is this a clash of perspectives, or is there a bigger issue bubbling beneath the surface? Let's dive into the drama, dissect Sue Bird's controversial remarks, and Stephen A.'s fiery response. Sue Bird, a Hall of Fame caliber player, widely respected for her legacy in both collegiate and professional basketball, recently sparked a media firestorm after calling out Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp for their comments on Caitlin Clark in the WNBA playoff ratings.
These numbers are still really high and they're still really meaningful and they still show and tell a story of the viewership that is being gained in the WNBA. And yet some people continue to flip that. Those people, I've seen Stephen A. Smith talk about it. I've seen Shannon Sharp talk about it. And that's what I just don't understand is they work for ESPN. So why are you hating on a product? It's a business you're in. It's not that they can't. And by the way, it's not that they can't be critical of certain things. They can have their opinions. But that's where I don't understand the framing of that.
Bird's frustration? That Stephen A. and Shannon dared to point out that the league's viewership skyrocketed because of Clark, insinuating that her absence would lead to a drop in interest.
And you open up your Yahoo, you're going to see WNBA playoff viewership down now that Caitlin is out. And is that somewhat factually accurate? Yes. It's not accurate. Viewership numbers with Caitlin Clark are astronomical. She is a big draw. Yeah. She brings in all the things. We know this, we've said this. And yes, the games where she's not playing have lower viewership. But in the WNBA playoffs, and we'll use the semifinals as the example, the WNBA playoff semifinal games where Caitlin obviously is not in it because her team lost, are still breaking records from previous WNBA years, are still cracking 1 million viewers.
Sue Bird's take was clear. Caitlin Clark is phenomenal, but the WNBA's semifinals were still breaking records even without her, cracking 1 million viewers. Bird questioned why Stephen A. and Shannon would hate on a league that ESPN, their employer, has a vested interest in.
Those people, I've seen Stephen A. Smith talk about it. I've seen Shannon Sharp talk about it. And that's what I just don't understand is they work for ESPN. So why are you hating on a product? It's a business you're in. It's not that they can't. And by the way, it's not that they can't be critical of certain things. They can have their opinions.
On the surface, Bird's comments seem straightforward. Defend the league, promote the growth. But beneath that, Stephen A. saw a serious issue. Stephen A. Smith, never one to shy away from controversy, was livid, and not just because his name was dragged into the conversation. Stephen A. made it clear this wasn't about hating on the WNBA or minimizing the accomplishments of players outside of Caitlin Clark.
Respectfully, Sue Bird, you are inaccurate. It is just that simple. First things first. We cover sports, right? Don't we cover sports? Looking at one of my producers, Sherry, do we cover sports? Do we cover sports? Aaron, do we cover sports? Griff, do we cover sports? I think we cover sports. So if somebody got arrested, I can't bring that up. Go outside the world of sports. The pop and entertainment world, they ain't talking about P. Diddy. The Hollywood Reporter ain't talking about him. TMZ ain't talking about him. Entertainment Tonight ain't talking about him. CNN ain't talking about him. CNBC ain't talking about him. talking about? The story is the story, Sue Bird. What was Stephen A. Smith and Shannon guilty of exactly?
His point, one that he argues Sue Bird missed entirely, was that Caitlin Clark's influence on the league is undeniable, and it needs to be recognized and capitalized on, not brushed aside. As Stephen A. said, a rising tide lifts all boats.
What Shannon Sharp and I were guilty of saying was that not enough folks were appreciating it and riding the tide. A rising tide lifts all boats.
Caitlin Clark didn't just help the WNBA, she transformed it. The Indiana Fever, Clark's team, led the league in attendance, boosting crowds both at home and on the road. 4 teams moved games to larger arenas just to accommodate more fans when Clark was in town. This isn't just a star player, this is a phenomenon. And to ignore that is to miss the opportunity to propel the league forward in ways it has never seen before.
What was Shannon and I saying? We were saying, do y'all see these numbers? Thanks to Caitlin Clark, Indiana led the league in attendance both at home and on the road. The Indiana Fever, nobody cared about her, averaged 17,035 at home this season with Caitlin Clark and over 15,000 in arenas on the road. 4 teams, moved home games to bigger arenas when Indiana came to town to accommodate more fans. I'm not finished. Attendance for the entire league is up nearly 50% this year, according to data from across the timeline. And Indiana leads all teams with an average attendance of 17,035, up 319% from a year ago. All other teams still grew by double-digit percentages, but not like that. And then we said merchandise sales are also up 450% for the WNBA, according to Fanatics, and Clark was the top-selling player and is 5th amongst athletes across all sports. Fanatics also reported a 100% increase in sales for WNBA-specific merchandise. What's the problem, Sue Bird?
Clark's impact is not just in attendance, but also in merchandise sales and overall viewership. Fanatics reported a 450% increase in WNBA-specific merchandise sales, with Clark's jersey outselling every other player in the league, including legends like Sue Bird herself, Diana Taurasi, and Candace Parker. This was a rookie making waves in ways the league had never experienced before. Stephen A. emphasizes that this isn't about undermining the accomplishments of other players, but recognizing how Clark's arrival has revitalized the WNBA. When Michael Jordan came along, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird didn't complain about his shine, Stephen A. argued. Instead, they recognized that Jordan's presence elevated the entire NBA, turning it into the global phenomenon it is today.
But you know something? Magic Johnson did great things for the NBA. Larry Bird did great things for the NBA. But when that brother Michael Jordan came along, they stood down. Not on the basketball court competing against him, but nobody complained about the shine he received. One reason was because they knew he deserved it. You know what the other reason was? It built the profile of the NBA and made the ratings blow up and took it off a tape delay and put it on primetime television and ultimately assisted in it becoming an international globalized brand. That's what happened.
The WNBA has the chance to do the same, and Caitlin Clark is that player who can lead the charge. For Stephen A., the bigger issue isn't just the call-out itself, but what it represents. Why are some figures in the WNBA seemingly downplaying the massive impact that Clark has had? Sue Bird's comments seem to dismiss the notion that Clark is the league's biggest draw, suggesting that the semifinal viewership numbers were still high without her. But for Stephen A., that's missing the point. Clark generated that interest. Her influence brought new viewers to the WNBA, viewers who may have stayed to watch even after her team was eliminated. It's not just about the games without her, it's about the buzz she created. Stephen A. didn't mince words. Sube, you're wrong on this one. you're missing the bigger picture. For him, it's not about ESPN. It's not about network loyalty. It's about facts. And the fact is, Caitlin Clark is a once-in-a-generation player who deserves to be recognized for what she's done, not just for the Indiana Fever, but for the entire WNBA. Stephen A. wasn't alone in his defense of Caitlin Clark. Shannon Sharpe, who was also mentioned in Sue Bird's comments, echoed similar sentiments. Both men have been vocal in their support of Clark, acknowledging her as a game-changer for the WNBA. Shannon pointed out that it's not just about the numbers or the ratings, it's about the cultural shift Clark has triggered. Fans who previously paid little attention to the WNBA are now invested. And much of that is because of the excitement and energy Clark brings to the court. While Sue Bird's comments may have been aimed at defending the league as a whole, Stephen A. couldn't help but wonder, is there more to this than meets the eye? Could there be some underlying tension within the WNBA about how much attention Clark has garnered in such a short time? Stephen A. pointed out how, when Michael Jordan rose to prominence, the other greats of the time stepped back, recognizing that his presence benefited everyone. Is Sue Bird and perhaps others in the WNBA reluctant to fully embrace the same idea with Caitlin Clark? It's a provocative question, but Stephen A. isn't shying away from it. He respects Sue Bird, admires her contributions to the game, but firmly believes she's wrong on this one. A rising tide lifts all boats, he reiterated.
But the fact of the matter is, she swelled the interest in the sport. That made people stick around and want to watch the others. A rising tide lifts all boats, which is what we were saying, both Shannon Sharpe and myself, when we addressed that issue. Why would you say a quote like that? We work for ESPN, so I'm supposed to turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to the facts? That ain't what we do.
Making it clear that Caitlin Clark's success is an opportunity for everyone in the WNBA to benefit, not something to be minimized. Stephen A. left viewers with a lingering question. Will the WNBA capitalize on Caitlin Clark's impact, or will they let internal disagreements and short-sightedness hold them back? If the league can embrace Clark's rise, leverage her popularity, and build a broader fan base, they have the chance to take the WNBA to new heights. But if they continue to downplay or misinterpret the significance of her influence, they risk losing a golden opportunity. This debate is far from over. Will Sue Bird and other WNBA figures recognize the full extent of Caitlin Clark's impact? Will Stephen A. and Shannon Sharpe continue to defend their stance, or will Sue Bird respond? One thing is clear, Caitlin Clark has already changed the game, and the future of the WNBA hangs in the balance. Stay tuned, because this conversation is just heating up.
And look, Amber and I, we're both, as general managers, she's going to be doing a lot of the day-to-day groundwork. For me, we're both going to be talking to agents. We're both going to be talking to the team. We'll be making those basketball decisions together.
The Indiana Fever just pulled off a massive front office shakeup, and Caitlin Clark's future is hanging in the balance. Amber Cox, a seasoned WNBA executive, is stepping in as the new Chief Operations Officer and General Manager, and fans are going insane over what this means for Clark and the Fever's rise. Could this be the move that finally turns the Fever into title contenders? Or is there more going on behind the scenes as the WNBA continues to mishandle its brightest star? Get ready, because what's happening in Indiana could change the entire WNBA landscape. In a move that has shocked the WNBA, the Indiana Fever have appointed Amber Cox as their new Chief Operations Officer and General Manager. Cox isn't just any executive. She's a proven leader with a track record of turning struggling franchises into powerhouse organizations. Now she's tasked with guiding the Fever into what could be their most pivotal era yet, all while navigating the intense pressure to build a championship-caliber team around Caitlin Clark. Cox's experience is impressive. She was instrumental in leading the Phoenix Mercury to 2 WNBA titles and helped the Dallas Wings break attendance records. The Fever are hoping that she'll bring that same magic to Indiana, but make no mistake, this isn't just about business. This is about maximizing Caitlin Clark's impact on the league and turning the Fever into a dominant force. The question is, can Cox deliver? Caitlin Clark's rookie season was historic, but it's clear that Indiana is ready to take things to the next level. In a press conference, Fever president Kelly Krauskopf laid it all on the table.
And look, Amber and I, we're both, as general managers, she's going to be doing a lot of the day-to-day groundwork. For me, we're both going to be talking to agents. We're both going to be talking to the team. We'll be making those basketball decisions together. Looking forward to working with her. She's been a part of really building a lot of different teams. So she brings in varied experiences, knows a lot of people around the league, a lot of agents.
The team needs to add size, experience, and leadership around Clark to make a serious run at the title. Krauskopf didn't hold back when talking about how critical Clark is to the franchise's future, saying, "Caitlin Clark is a generational player. Now it's up to us to build the right team around her."
Yeah, I think that, we've seen that such a huge inflection of attention, and, her play, just the way she plays the game, I think that's going to be sustainable. There's clearly, there's something about the way she plays the game, her passing, her shooting, that people really identify with. And our backcourt, I think, is probably going to be one of the best in the league between her and Kelsey. That's a dynamic duo right there.
But Krauskopf wasn't done there. She sent a warning to the rest of the league. With the addition of Cox, the Fever are poised to be extremely aggressive in free agency, and they're not afraid to make bold moves. "We need the right pieces around Caitlin, and we're going to find them," Krauskopf said.
Finding those right fits around a point guard like her is going to make us awfully dangerous. And I'm looking forward to that challenge because, you're looking for the right types of players that can play that style of basketball around her. And it's uncanny how similar they both are.
The message was clear. Indiana is tired of being an afterthought, and they're ready to become a WNBA powerhouse. Amber Cox's appointment is more than just a front office hire. It's a statement. The Fever are building their future around Caitlin Clark, and they're bringing in the right leadership to make it happen. Cox knows how to build winning teams, and she understands the importance of maximizing the potential of a star player like Clark. But here's where things get interesting. The WNBA itself seems to have no idea how to handle Clark's meteoric rise. Despite Clark's jaw-dropping rookie season, which saw her lead the league in points and assists, the WNBA has been suspiciously quiet. No major ad campaigns, no big promotions, no effort to capitalize on the Caitlin Clark effect that's been driving attendance and viewership through the roof. It's almost like the league is avoiding promoting its biggest star, and that has left fans and insiders baffled. Kelly Krauskopf, though, isn't waiting around for the WNBA to catch up. She's building the future of the Fever with Clark at the center, and Cox is the key to unlocking that potential. Krauskopf even compared Clark to Indiana Pacers star Tyrese Halliburton, saying that both players control the tempo of the game and elevate their teammates. "If you're a smart player, you'll want to play with her," Krauskopf said.
I would think that if you are a smart basketball player and you watch the way she plays, you would want to play with her. She, much like Tyrese Halliburton, she gets you the ball in places that you didn't even know you were open.
Hinting at a massive free agent push to surround Clark with the talent she deserves. The Fever strategy is clear. Make Indiana a destination for top talent. With Cox at the helm and Clark leading the charge on the court, the Fever are positioning themselves as the next big thing in the WNBA. And with the offseason fast approaching, Cox is expected to hit the ground running, targeting veteran free agents who can provide leadership and help the Fever compete with the league's elite teams like the New York Liberty and Las Vegas Aces. Indiana Fever fans are already speculating about which big-name players might be lured to join Caitlin Clark in Indiana. With Cox's history of aggressive roster building, you can bet that the Fever will be major players in this offseason's free agent market. Krauskopf has made it clear that Clark is the type of player who makes everyone around her better. And that's a huge selling point for any top-tier talent looking for a fresh start. Veteran leadership is a top priority for the Fever, but they're also in the market for size and experience to help them compete with teams like the Aces and Liberty, who boast stacked rosters. Krauskopf hinted that Indiana is looking for players who can run the floor with Clark's fast-paced style, defend at a high level, and bring a winning mentality to the franchise. If the Fever can land a couple of key free agents, they could go from playoff hopefuls to legitimate title contenders. But here's the kicker. This offseason could define not only the future of the Fever, but the trajectory of Caitlin Clark's entire career. If Indiana fails to bring in the right pieces, they risk wasting the prime years of one of the most electrifying players the league has ever seen. Cox has been brought in to ensure that doesn't happen. "We have an opportunity to build something special," Krauskopf said, "and we're going to take full advantage of it." The WNBA's missed opportunities. Why isn't Caitlin Clark the face of the league? Let's address the elephant in the room. The WNBA is completely fumbling the bag when it comes to Caitlin Clark. Despite her record-breaking rookie season, the league has been slow to promote her as the next big star. Where are the commercials? Where are the billboards? Where is the full-court press to turn Clark into the face of women's basketball? It's baffling, especially when you consider the numbers. Clark's games have set attendance records, her jersey is flying off the shelves, and she's pulling in viewers like no other player in the league. Yet the WNBA seems hesitant to embrace her star power, and that's a huge missed opportunity, not just for the league, but for women's sports as a whole. This is where Amber Cox could change the game. Not only does she have the experience to build a championship-caliber team, but she also knows how to market and promote players. Under Cox's leadership, the Fever could take control of the narrative and turn Clark into the household name she deserves to be. If the WNBA won't do it, the Fever will. But let's not forget, the Fever aren't the only ones who need to capitalize on Clark's rise. The entire WNBA should be rallying behind its biggest star, promoting her achievements, and using her as the face of the league's growth. If they continue to ignore the Caitlin Clark phenomenon, they could be missing out on a golden opportunity to grow the sport on a global scale. With Caitlin Clark leading the charge and Amber Cox in the driver's seat, the Indiana Fever are setting themselves up for a dramatic transformation. This offseason is critical, and all eyes will be on Indiana to see which moves they make. Will they land the veteran talent they need to compete with the league's top teams? Can Cox and Krauskopf build a team around Clark that can dominate for years to come? The pieces are there. Clark is a generational talent, Kelsey Mitchell provides veteran leadership, and Aaliyah Boston adds size and strength in the front court. If Cox can bring in the right players, the Fever could be on the verge of something special. But the pressure is on. This isn't just about winning a few more games. This is about building a dynasty and cementing Clark's legacy as one of the greatest players in WNBA history. The Indiana Fever have just made their boldest move yet, and the future of Caitlin Clark's career could depend on what happens next. Will Amber Cox's leadership turn the Fever into title contenders? Or will the WNBA's continued mishandling of its brightest star derail Clark's potential? One thing's for sure, the 2025 season could change everything. Stay tuned because the Fever are about to make some serious noise, and Caitlin Clark's journey is just getting started.